Let me give you a Jain perspective of this. When I gave you a sociological perspective or a literary perspective of this and gave you some parallel from this, some of it is maybe well understood also. So the typical of the challenge in ethics is not what, the spiritual aspect is not what of spirituality. We can all give lectures, and every day when we pick up a newspaper, we read names of great people who have given lectures like this. But what probably they lacked was how to practice what they teach or how to practice what we learn. And one of the most interesting examples, and that it got converted into a brilliant book, it started with a classroom situation. That in a class of ethics, a teacher was teaching about truth. And so one little boy was looking very puzzled. So the teacher stopped that. I've moved on to other values. This boy is still very puzzled. Probably somewhat like Yudhishthir. And so she said, what is bothering you? So he said, madam, you said something about the truth. He said, yeah. He said, but I don't know how to speak the truth. So she said, what do you mean by how to speak the truth? You have to speak the truth, whatever it is. No, madam, I understand, but I don't know how to speak the truth. So the teacher knew there was some problem. And you know what the problem is. We are afraid when we want to speak the truth. Right from by the time a child is 5 years old, the child has learned to speak the lies. Because the child sees speaking lies and falsehood as a lingua franca, as a way to get around, and the moral rot has set in right from a very young age. So as I grow up, I have all these challenges that what of ethic is fine, but how of ethic is what I think we need to develop. So as in my little field of investment and consulting, I realized one thing. Anything that you understand end to end, you can do easily. When you don't understand things end to end, you're always afraid I will lose my way somewhere, not unlike Abhimanyu, who found it easy. Now we are all wiser when having read his story. We are always confused and worried where we will end. And therefore, I want to sum up my talk with 2 parts. That in Jains, and some of here seem to be well versed in Jainism. In Jains, of course, you have the 5 basic precepts, which are the same as Yam in Yoga Parampara, which is Satya, Ahimsa, Asteya, Parigraha, Brahmacharya, as what are called the Mahavrat. And Ahimsa, of course, is much celebrated, that Jains seem to have adopted a Mahabharata sentence, really, Ahimsa Paramo Dharma, is a sentence that comes from Mahabharata and not from the Jain texts. But there is something called Das Lakshanik. So those who are Digambar, they follow, a 10-day Paryushan, and they talk about each of the values. The first value in that is Kshama. And none of the 10 values includes Ahimsa. It's very interesting. Thus, Lakshanik does not have Ahimsa as an expression, but it has Kshama as the biggest. Now, if you look at Kshama, first and all, the biggest benefit of Kshama is that I become peaceful. A businessman who wants to accumulate wealth and retain it must know how to retain it peacefully, because har gud pe makhi baithti hai. The moment there is accumulation, there are 1,000 people who will come and claim it. And therefore, this man has to be very intelligent. And so I found, in my experience as a businessman or as a consultant or as an investor, adopting this principle to be extremely beneficial. That if I want to remain peaceful, I don't have to be moralistic, I have to be very shrewd and clever. And I'll give you several examples of it. I say typically in a business setup, what problems you have. You will have a problem with your employee, you will have a problem with your customer, you will have a problem with your supplier, or you will have a problem with your regulator. If you become too well known and you have a profile, you have problem with all kinds of people. So how does one do? So obviously, one pays one's taxes very happily. So for a while, some of me and my partners, we recognized, oh, we were the highest taxpayers. And we were stunned. We say, yaar, hamari to daulat kuch nahi hai. And how are we the highest taxpayers? So we were told that tum log bewkoof log ho, because you declare all your income, that's why you're highest taxpayers. You're not highest income earners, you're the highest taxpayers. But we found that very useful. Over a period of time, by providence or by whatever, etc., capital gains tax got abolished in this country. And obviously, so even if you made some money, you did not pay much tax. But that besides. Just being careful as to who you employ is the most important thing. And I'll give you how things get linked up. We adopted a principle early in our career that we shall not invest or encourage or do business with any company, any businessman who was indulging in killing of life. So any pesticide company, leather company, we would not deal with. We would not invest. Any company that was in gambling, in casinos, we would not deal with. Any company which was a tannery, which was in leather, butchery, etc., we would not invest or encourage. So on, so we had an exclusive list. Many years later, so we thought nothing about it, we wouldn't talk about it, we simply used that practice. As we became bigger, and foreigners used to come and talk to us about doing partnership with us and so on, one of those people told me something very interesting. He says, Vallabh, you know what? We feel very comfortable about your company. He said, why? He said, typically in a capital market business, employees are very greedy because the boss is also very greedy, and that's when they cut corners. But in your case, it is not so. So I started thinking, I said, look, I can't give myself a certificate that I have conquered greed. We are not unduly greedy, but we do want to do better. But I said, look, I don't understand. Why are you saying this? So he said, your employees know that you say no to so much business, money is not a driving force for you. Oh, it was extraordinarily revealing to me that employees had made their own deduction कि सेठ को हर किसी तरह से पैसा कमाने में interest नहीं है. So he says all your businesses are clean. And another implication of this was that we never had a problem with regulators. Or if we had, they were technical in nature and we could overcome it easily. So I think we got several benefits. One of the biggest benefits, Deepak Bhaiya, was there was a very famous case, one of the most painful and complicated case that arose in the capital market related to MS Shoes. I don't know, Nehal, if you remember, but so there was a businessman who became very powerful, and you can't imagine what happens in this country, that a shoe manufacturer had become so powerful, and he had created a vision that this will become thousands of crores company and so on, and had great political connections. So like everyone else, he also came to us. Every investment banker was involved in it. Every banker was involved in it. We were not involved in it. And that issue ran into some huge difficulty. There were underwriting cases that went on for 10 years. Fortunately for us, we did not have to do anything with that. I found number of examples in my life where by following our principles, we did not have any difficulty. And so this principle of Kshama, the other example I'll give you, we decided we will not go public. So why will we not go public? I am taking, taking companies public was my day-to-day business. But in my heart, I knew that it is a great responsibility to make money for others. And I checked our ambition, my partner's ambition, and we said we are not that ambitious. We will find our methods of dealing with our wealth and how to keep it for generations. It's a great method of keeping your wealth for generations. If you go public, why? You are taking on the responsibility. So when a person becomes wealthy, he better understands the responsibility that he is taking up. And if you do not want that responsibility, you say, "Bhaiya, mujhe kamana hi nahi hai." And there is no better way of creating wealth than going public. So going public actually creates wealth only when you create wealth for somebody else, what Nehal was alluding to. So we said, okay, we are creating wealth by taking companies public, making sure that they are as good as, we tried our best to bring some of the best companies in India to market. So I think living in peace is an act of great intelligence. Those who are stupid, those who want to think that because they've taken a vow, they can remain peaceful, it is not possible. Because those who have created wealth could not have created it without creating somewhere else. Those who have retained wealth could not have retained wealth unless they were also very, very thinking and clever people. That's the point I'm alluding to. And therefore, wealth creation with a spiritual perspective is also a very rational perspective. It's a very intelligent perspective. It's a great act of responsibility, and both society and nature give great respect to such people, those who have served a purpose in creating wealth. And lastly, in those 10 values, they're very interesting, Kshama, Marjav, Arjav, Shauch, Sat, Tap, Sanyam, Ityadi. The last is Brahmacharya. Now, Brahmacharya in India is understood to be celibacy. Actually, the meaning of Brahmacharya, if you break up the Sanskrit meaning, is not that. It is about Brahma mein charan karna, Brahma mein vicharan karna. To live in Brahma, in celestial bliss. A businessman, a wealth creator, should be living in bliss if he is the Shresht person. And how does one do that? By sticking to the purpose for which nature has made you. I think in that Vyavahar science of Mahavir, which is not always understood very correctly, Mahavir recognizes. And Nehal, you talked about, I think you gave your own interpretation, and that's all right because I think it served the purpose of Namo Sabvasahunam, Namo Loe Sabvasahunam, and what it means. That to the question that, who is noble, a mouse or an elephant? You can't answer that question. It's a false question. Because mouse serves a purpose, elephant serves a purpose. Mouse couldn't care less if elephant is called a keystone. Mouse can be keystone in its own way. Every creature is a keystone. Recognition by some Wikipedia that it's a keystone is not really the end of it. Brahmacharya is this. Once you recognize that nature has created different elements, unless each element serves the purpose that it is created for, you are disturbing nature. So if we have Dr. Surendra Agarwal, who is one of the greatest plastic technologists in the world, and he says, "Nahi, main to bhi plastic nahi karunga," I think it is not allowed. Nature expects that you will strive to your perfection. And so also each one of us, we have to perform the role. There are some of us who are superb at ability of seeing the whole cycle. As I explained, that he eats last. जो businessman होता है, wealth accumulator होता है, he eats last. He feeds the whole system, the whole chain, and then eats last. So also in Brahmacharya, if I stick to my purpose, I know my purpose, and I stick to it, I'm bound to be living in Brahma. I will be in what is called, there is this sthiti, जो मुदिता, जिसको ब्रह्म विचर, ब्रह्म विहार कहते हैं, that they live in Brahma Vihar. So I think those who are great wealth creators here or here, and we have Mafatras Sahab Munod sitting here, and he exemplifies some of what I said. And a great entrepreneur, great social conscience, extremely careful in what he does. And therefore, if you see an intelligent person who is also a reputed person, and if you also see a wealthy person, respect that person because he would clearly be the most excellent man in our society. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bhansali. It was a great speech. The way I understood the entire speech is that Jainism stands on three main principles. You have ahimsa, aparigraha, and anekant. And he's kind of touched upon all the three aspects to the various components of his speech. He spoke about ahimsa. He spoke about uttam chama, whereby he said, forgive yourself first. I mean, if you're creating wealth, and if that wealth is not leading to peace, and rather it's giving you more of concerns and akulta, then what use is that wealth, either for you or for anybody else in the world? So uttam chama is when anything actually gives you peace, the wealth, the social work, anything that you're doing, whether it is for Parkalyan or whatever, it has to end of the day give us peace, which we are not getting. Then it means there's something wrong that you are doing. In wealth, you will always have that satisfaction if you do it the right way. There are two ways of doing things, the right and the wrong. So he said how during his entire tenure, he made a principle that no, we will not invest in companies which are not based on the Siddhant of ahimsa. So things where there is killing involved, if there is things like leather or animals being slaughtered, we will not invest. It shows the ethics, the principles, the Siddhant of ahimsa coming across. So this is the way you marry the ahimsa and the aparigraha, and you say, no, money is good, but not at any cost. And that's what was very, very important. You know, I've been thinking about the speech, and I realized a certain thing. People say Jain are very wealthy overall, which also he did say. So, you know, one of the reasons which I feel why Jains are wealthier comparatively, irrespective of the income, is because where do we spend? I mean, did you ever think about it? What do we eat? Longki ki sabji? Arhar ki dal? I mean, what? How many kajus and badams can you eat end of the day? So what we eat is so simple. Where are the expenses? I mean, what we drink? Doodh, chas, lassi, at max tea. Juices, how expensive are they? You don't have kaju milkshake every day, right? So things where you actually can spend, I mean, cotton clothes, how expensive they can be. So most of the places where we spend are so very, very simple. So it's because the outflow is so low. So obviously, whatever coming in will stay with us, and that's how we are wealthy, isn't it? So anyways, ahimsa and aparigraha is what has led us to being wealthy. Also, he tried to touch upon the Nishchay Vyavhar, the Anekant Siddhant, which he tried to restrain because of the mix of crowd, and he thought probably it would get a little more difficult. But then still, he tried to show the balance of principles and the implementation, the Nishchay and the Vyavhar, and how the two can be balanced out. So it's not only about the external materialism, but also about, you know, how you take it. I would rather like to even say that wealth is completely material, and spiritualism is about me, the soul, the attachment or the detachment of the soul here. And that attachment towards the wealth will actually make the difference, or detachment towards the wealth will make the difference to what extent we go to create that wealth. So thank you so much, Mr. Vallabh Bhansali. It was a great enlightening session, and would like to felicitate you once again for that. Now we move towards the next speaker, Professor Dr. Deepak Jain. I always knew Dr. Deepak Jain as the scholar with the Kellogg's University. That was my understanding of him for the last 5 to 7 years, and I have been longing to see and meet him as well, always. I'd like to briefly give you, whoever is associated with international academics as such, with the kind of institutes, educational institutes which are there worldwide, usually knows his name pretty well. Dr. Deepak Jain, again, I would like to formally introduce him for everybody's sake here. He is an academic innovator with an influential career spanning over 3 decades and beyond 3 continents, an able administrator and a consultant to various corporations, governments, and world-renowned figures. He began humble beginning as a student in Tezpur in Assam. Assam is still a place where not all the courier companies go, I know that. So that's where he hails from. He earned his bachelor's and master's degree in mathematical statistics from Guwahati University, where he taught for 4 years before getting his PhD in marketing from University of Texas. Throughout his career, he has furthered a pedagogical model that combines academic rigor and business relevance to produce high-impact results that increases prosperity and peace. This is how you're seeing the wealth and the spiritualism getting married. He has received many awards for his teaching and research, including the Outstanding Educator Award from the Government of Assam, the prestigious John D.C. Little Best Paper Award, the Sandy and Morton Goldman Professor of Entrepreneurial Studies at the Northwestern University's Kellogg School of Business, the INSEAD Chair Professor of Marketing. He has been a faculty and dean at many institutes. So all of you who have kids, of the age, who needs to get into management studies, he is the man to go. He has been faculty and dean at many institutes like INSEAD, Kellogg, and Sassoon Graduate Institute of Business Management, Bangkok, where he is currently serving as director. In addition, he has and continues to serve as director on the boards of many prestigious companies and organizations, such as John Deere and Company USA, Reliance India, we all know that, Microsoft, Sony, Novartis, Hayat, and many others. He has designed and delivered training for several organizations in Thailand, where he currently is, such as Fiscal Policy Research Institute and the Securities and Exchange Commission. In lieu of his many services, he has been awarded the Pravasi Bharatiya Samman by the Prime Minister of India in 2004. So I would now like to call upon Professor Dr. Deepak Jain. Please grace us with just a few words. Thank you. Yes, it should. I'll get you some technical help. If you need it, we can arrange for it. Sure. Can you help on the presentation? आपके पास पेन ड्राइव में है?
इसी में होगा।
I'll just need that. एक सेकेंड.
Good morning. Come on, you can do better than this. Good morning कहने में कुछ नहीं जाता है. Good morning. Thank you. I was listening to the introduction, and I thought the introduction was very descriptive. She described all phases of my life. But I thought I will share with you before I start this morning. Someone once had an introduction for me, and I feel that was the most innovative introduction a human being can give to someone else. Please allow me to share this story with you. I have said it many times, but I want to say it once again because I want to listen to it. So I will tell you what the story is. Dr. Jain mentioned that it was Swami Vivekananda who in 1893 came to Chicago, and this was the month of September, when he gave a speech that has really become a landmark in US history when it comes to bringing, you would say, Hinduism or what Indian or Indianness stands for. मुझे कहना नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन उसके ठीक 108 साल बाद उसी महीने September 11th, 2001, there was a person who stood and welcomed 650 students as the dean of the Kellogg School, ठीक 160 साल बाद, I was named as the Dean of Kellogg, and that was the first time when an Indian happened to be at that position. It was a great day, but 10 minutes into my presentation, my director of corporate communications came and spoke in my ears and said, Dean Jain, there has been a terrorist attack on the US soil. Who would have ever anticipated such an event? And he said, Deepak, you should shut up before the cell phones start ringing. But it was something very unique. Anyway, jo hona tha ho gaya. I went back to my office. And then a gentleman came to see me. Many of you who have been in the business field or have gone through management education would have heard his name, called Professor Philip Kotler. Professor Kotler is considered to be the guru of marketing, or really the man who defined the field of marketing. तो मेरे से मिलने आए कहे दीपक, I need a favor from you. मैंने कहा Professor Kotler, what can I do for you? He said that I have been asked to give a talk, and the day of the speech happens to be the day when my son-in-law would have a major surgery. His son-in-law was involved in an accident, and the surgery was very critical because his half of the body was getting paralyzed. So he said, Deepak, would you substitute for me? I said, Professor, why you want to put me in such an awkward situation? The whole world, they were expecting about 1,300 people. The whole world would come to listen to the guru, Professor Kotler. Why you want to be there and everyone would just accuse me? Right? कि देखिए हमने तो आए Kotler को सुनने और कौन आ गया? So he said, what do you suggest? I said, why don't you call the organizer and tell the organizer to postpone the date? और आज तो आपके पास बहुत अच्छा excuse है. September 11th है, सबको मालूम है because of this. So you have a legitimate reason to postpone the date. He said, let me try. He called the organizer, and the organizer said, 1,200 some people have already registered. They have paid the fees. It was a paid event. So now if I change the date, it would be a logistical nightmare. So if you cannot make it, we will live with whatever or whomever you suggest. तो वो मेरे पास आते हैं कहते हैं दीपक you have to do it. मैंने कहा Professor, I told you I'm not going to say no to you. So I flew to this place. The talk was starting at 9 in the morning. At 8 o'clock, I met this person for breakfast. Now he was not an academic. So he asked me, he said, Dr. Jain, what do you do? I said, until recently I was a professor, and now I am the dean of the Kellogg Business School. He said, he didn't know what it meant to be a dean, so he asked me, what do you do as a dean? I didn't know what to tell him, so I said that as a dean, you are responsible for setting the direction for the school. You are involved in designing the programs. You are involved in hiring the best faculty. And if the faculty members don't perform, then you also have to let them go. And I said that as the dean of the school, you are also in charge of managing the external relations with the alumni community, with the business community, and with the government. So I said that in true sense, the dean of a business school is like a chief executive officer of a corporation. Now this language he understood because he was a businessman. So he said, now I know how to introduce you. Till then he didn't even care to ask me what my full name was. And also he didn't have a business card, and neither did I, because I was new to the job. 9 o'clock, the hall was full. He came, he started saying good morning, everyone said good morning. And then he asked the audience, how many of you have heard the name Philip Kotler? All the hands went up. He told the audience, today I present to you the boss of Phil Kotler. And that was my introduction. So I said that yes, as an Indian, as a person growing up in a small town, when you get to introduced as the boss of a guru, you attribute that to who you are and what values you grew up with. And that is what I always subscribe to our sanskars. I know all of us are here. We get something very sacred from our ancestors, from our parents. You can call them sanskars. There is no English translation for that word. Today people use the word values. But to me, we are because there's something inside us. And when I looked at the title here, called Wealth Creation, and now they said through spiritual perspective, to me, first is what do we mean by the word of wealth? Many speakers have articulated it. And the second is when people ask spiritual perspective, what is that? Wealth, when people ask me, wealth to me, for any human being, is your reputation. I always tell people, reputation is your currency. देखिए, बैंक बैलेंस में आपके पास जितना है, आपसे किसी के पास उससे ज़्यादा होगा. That is always true. There is, as Vallabh Bhai said, aparigra is a very strong word and a very powerful word because there is no limit to it. There is no bounds. It's boundless. Same thing it happens is when you think of wealth, हमारा purpose wealth का यही है कि how we become examples for others, and particularly we as teachers, when students look at us, they really look at us in terms of an example that they would like to follow. Whole life, we keep spending time thinking about others rather than trying to focus on ourselves. गालिब साहब का नाम आपने सुना, उन्होंने एक बड़ी अच्छी लाइन कही थी. उसने कहा, उन्होंने लिखा था कि उम्र भर गालिब भूल में ये करता रहा, धूल चेहरे पर थी और मैं आईना साफ करता रहा. राइट, कितनी सिंपल सी लाइन है कि गलती अंदर थी और मैं दूसरी जगह बढ़ता रहा. मेरा यही कहना है कि टू मी स्पिरिचुअलिटी इज फोकसिंग ऑन सेल्फ बिकॉज स्पिरिट इज विद इन अस. सो एक तो रेपुटेशन इज अवर करेंसी and how we become a better person, a person that people like to follow the principles. और जो वल्लभ भाई कह रहे थे कि जैन धर्म के 10 लक्षण में सबसे पहला वर्ड आता है forgiveness. To me, ahimsa is a broader, an umbrella brand under which all the 10 lakshan dharma comes. I remember a teacher he mentioned about a teacher teaching a class and a student getting puzzled with the word truth. I give you another example. A teacher was teaching the class, and the teacher asked the students, can someone give me the definition of forgiveness? By the way, this was not a Jainism class, a regular class. And she asked the question, can someone give me a definition of forgiveness? एक छोटा सा लड़का खड़ा हुआ, and he said, teacher, forgiveness is the fragrance a flower gives after being crushed. देखिए क्या बढ़िया definition है कि forgiveness is the fragrance a flower gives after being crushed. So if there is something unique about Jainism, these 3 words that I highlighted here are my 3 directions of my, or I would describe that as my moral campus. On a day-to-day basis, और चाहे मैं कुछ नहीं करूं, many people tell me it's very difficult to get Deepak angry. मेरी वाइफ जब मेरे से ऊपर गुस्सा होती है, I always keep quiet. After that, she has stopped getting angry, कि उसके तो बोल के कोई फायदा नहीं है, right? So I always tell, silence is your best defense. In some sense, anger only comes when there is a reaction. Otherwise, होगा नहीं. People try to excite you, and if in that case you can survive that storm. Anger क्या, जब आपको कुछ गलत कोई कह रहा है, that is a storm coming to it. If you can survive that, उसके against में तो और कोई दूसरा आदमी, after that the person, now she has stopped getting angry, कि बोल के तो कोई फायदा नहीं है. चलो, let's move on to the next step. I want to just share with you for a few minutes this 3 aspects that can really make you whatever you want to become in life. अपरिग्रह के बारे में वल्लभ साहब ने कहा, if there is one contribution that I think we Jains have given to the world, or what Bhagwan Mahavir Swami gave us, to me of the three, the most powerful is Anekant. Because the word Anekant means multiplicity of viewpoints. Where we get in trouble is where there is completely might is right, एक ही व्यू इज राइट. अल्लाह एक है या एक भगवान है. द बिगेस्ट कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन महावीर मेड वॉज देर आर मल्टीपल वेज ऑफ लुइंग एट द सेम थिंग. ए गर्ल कैन बी ए सिस्टर, कैन बी ए वाइफ, कैन बी ए मदर, कैन बी ए ग्रैंड मदर. It all depends on the perspective you take or from the viewpoint you look at the person. So this concept of absolute truth only exists in textbooks. शेक्सपियर ने बहुत पहले कहा था कि 2 words, truth and love, are only in textbooks. उनके manifestations ज़्यादा होंगे, but true love and true friendship only exist in textbooks because the word truth is an absolute word. दुनियादारी में we have to practice, and the way you practice is where your morals or your personal consciousness should not be compromised. 3 साल पहले की बात है, I got into some health issues, and this was February 2012. It took me some time to recover. We professors have only one thing called the brain, and I was diagnosed with brain tumor with cancer. But भगवान की दया है, आप लोगों का आशीर्वाद है, I am standing here before you today. But that day, when I got released from the hospital came, I was reflecting on ऐसा क्यों हुआ and what has happened in the world over the years. As some people say that if you have to think big. And think big means I was thinking about the evolution of business over the last 500 years. Just think about how business, we are here in Bombay Stock Exchange, a source of wealth creation, as people have articulated. Or no matter what all we say, people say that the most important thing in life is love, not money, but we all love money. Right? वो तो एक simple बात है, उसकी तो वो तो एक हकीकत है, and we should respect that. Don't get me wrong, don't get me wrong. But I was thinking, how has businesses evolved over time? So I'll just share with you a few perspectives here. Time period, when businesses came, what the focus was, who were the key players, what metric they used to measure their performance, and what impact they had on the world. If you look up to the 19th century, the business model was colonialism. Throughout the world, we Indians were ruled by the British. I remember when I was a student in Tejpur, it was a school where still we had a lot of Catholic teachers and English teachers coming, and they used to say with pride, the sun never sets on the British Empire. This was the line we heard. Countries were the players, whether it was UK, whether it was France, whether it was Indonesia, whether it was Spain, they went and acquired other countries, and what other countries had were resources, and these countries became the managers or the players, and they were measured by the power. How many countries you had under your jurisdiction, and that was the power, and I would say the impact was the strength they had in the world. At one time, UK was the strength of the world. Then comes another country in the world called US. 1776, America gets independence, and they, after their arrival, the model changed from colonialism to capitalism. A new word came, and capitalism was what the theme today is, wealth creation, but not only for you, but as Vora Sahib said, wealth creation can only be sustainable if there is an inclusive nature to it. You use the word inclusiveness, and that was what US defined. And the From land acquisition, we moved to free market competition, and the players now, rather than countries, became corporations. In fact, at that time, most of the countries started becoming independent. And if you look at John Deere, I am on the board. Last year, we celebrated 175 years. The oldest US company in the world is DuPont, of all the things. IBM, ये जो बड़ी बड़ी कंपनियां हैं, they all came after the colonialism was over and capitalism became, and now the metric became profits, or you can call it shareholder value, whatever you say. And these companies that are doing very well, their impact was, these are the successful corporations, the top Fortune 500 companies, and so on. This became the mantra. If you look at today, we all are here, we have our children, and the question is, what is the world they are going to look at? And my view is, we are moving from capitalism to entrepreneurialism. Look at today, who are the big players? Bill Gates created Microsoft. Mark Zuckerberg, one person, creates Facebook. You look at Uber. You look at all the new companies, they all created from entrepreneurs. So if there is a change in management education today, as the dean of a business school, I say that the future mantra is not just capitalism, it is entrepreneurialism. How we create, people are born with some entrepreneurial feeling. What can the schools teach you is what I describe, how you put structure on unstructured problems. Why people come to business schools? They have ideas, but they don't know how to get the source for venture capital. Ballabhai was mentioning that you take companies to public, you take companies public. There are issues dealing with mergers and acquisitions. People think of it, but is there a systematic process to follow that? And that's what the purpose of business schools become. What we teach is not calculus. What we teach people in business school is how you come up with something called a structured framework for analyzing or addressing business problems. But today, if you look at Gates, it's not just profits. The young generation is born also with something called a purpose behind it. It's not just profits. Or what I describe is, it's not only success, it's significance. And significance in my word is the feeling of giving back. Creating significant impact means the feeling of giving back. Look at, Gates created Microsoft, but what is he spending his time today on? How he can make the quality of life better for others. He feels he was privileged enough to get that, but now it is his moral duty to focus on issues like health, how he can distribute his wealth. So wealth creation and distribution, to me, are two sides of the same coin. You only become more known when you also try to think of something of significance. Mark Zuckerberg is another. Very recently, he made a very big donation. So when I was the dean of the Kellogg School and I was leaving the job, that was the 100 years of Kellogg, we all believe that something should be remembered. And I used to tell people, don't get me wrong. First, you have to be successful. Do make money. There is nothing wrong with it. Money with a purpose in mind, but then don't think of just stopping the journey there. Now the question is, what can you do with this to make others better? So as the dean of the Kellogg School, I used to tell students, by joining Kellogg, you are going to start your journey from success to significance. For you to do of any significance, first you have to be successful. Don't become Adarshwadi. I want to go and serve the poor. First create a pedestal, a brand of yourself, and once you are recognized with that, then the time comes how you contribute to others. So this success with significance is what I think we Jains, I really believe, are blessed with. And I had the pleasure 2 years ago to be on a dais like this, where the other speaker was His Excellency Honorable Dalai Lama. And he was speaking on one end on Buddhism, and I spoke on Jainism. It was the Miami audience. And as you know, that in Jainism, we use the word ahimsa as the core. And I was telling Mr. Kothari yesterday that if you listen to Dalai Lama, he has one word which he uses called compassion, jiska matlab hai karuna. That's all, he always talks about Buddhism around one word, daya, karuna, which in my mind is embedded in the word ahimsa, which is all inclusive. But one thing I tell you, where I think we go wrong, and I would use the word we go wrong from a public point of view, हमारे 3 words जो हैं, non-violence, right? Non-possessiveness और non-absolutism, जो अनेकांत है. हम लोगों को कहते हैं ये मत करो, ये मत करो, ये मत करो. Right? This non-word is not something acceptable to the young generation. Right? Compassion में कोई non की बात नहीं है. It's a very nice word for people to just believe in. To me, these words of Anekant, Ahimsa or Aparigraha are very good words. When you go and translate into English, the word non comes, which to tell people not to do this, not to do that, is something not a very good way to teach something. But my point is, where the Jains, compared to people following the Buddhist religion, there is a very big difference. We became very inward focused within there. What did Buddha do? Strict vegetarian nahi hai. Rather than going to the extreme path, he used the word the middle path. Second, he took the religion outside India. Think, 543 BC, Buddha had a more global perspective than anyone else. Right? He became global by taking the religion out and taking a path that he thought more people can follow. I would still believe that what we are doing is the right thing we do. And any occasion I get, I share the Jain values, the Jain principles. To me, Jainism is not just a religion, but what Mr. Vohra alluded to, it's more a philosophy. How you conduct your life, how you do things such that you don't compromise on your values. Now, when you think of entrepreneurs, and you have to think about what is the thinking of the entrepreneurs. These people think beyond conventional boundaries. Aaj, age is not the way to think of maturity. Rather than being age-driven, they come up with new thinking. We Indians have too much respect for gray hair. Now, that's why I made my hair gray, so that people think I am wise. But the point is, we have to respect the young generation. If you look at all the corporations, there are young CEOs. Our way of promotion was, you promote people who are getting older and older and they become the head. I use a term called reverse mentoring. Aaj, as parents, children become the mentors. हम उनसे भी उतना ही सीख सकते हैं जितना हम उनको सिखा. Same thing in the workplace. I as the dean would learn from the young assistant professors as much as they would see my style, because they bring a very fresh and new perspective to the classroom. Same thing about the new teachers. So don't think that age is the way to think of maturity. People at different age groups can come up with new paradigms, and being open to those views is practicing Anekant. Because ये नहीं कि बड़े लोग ही बता सकते हैं. Anekant का मतलब even a kid can teach you, just like this kid who described the definition of forgiveness. To me, the teacher learned more about forgiveness than what the teacher had in mind. So we as human beings should have respect for every age group and think about what we can learn and build ourselves. दुनिया में क्या हो रहा है? The biggest problem we all have, I use a word called nanosecond culture. We are becoming very impatient. You send an email to some person, you don't receive the response, you send an email saying, I'm not sure whether you have received my earlier email, I just wanted to make sure that I had the right address, right? Just to remind you that the person has not heard back. Nothing wrong with it. But patience also has its virtue. Or we used to learn something called persistence. कि लगे रहो, to me, the definition of failure is giving up. Giving up is the real definition of failure. अगर आप लगे रहेंगे ना कुछ तो होगा ही. And that is what I tell my children, etc. कि defeat कोई नहीं है. Nobody can do anything to you without your permission. If you give up, you have accepted defeat. If you keep trying, it's a matter of time. Don't think that yes, आज नहीं हुआ तो ये होगा ही नहीं. You keep that something in your mind and you never know when these things can become a reality. The other part is, we are going to live in a world where what I call the aging population. An aging population, we all are very blessed with, कि हाँ ज़्यादा रहेंगे, but don't think living longer is also going to increase the quality of life. So right now, a very big emphasis I have is how you keep the elderly engaged. And you need to give them some work so they can do something, because being busy is far better than being idle. There is a saying that if you want to get anything done, give it to the busiest person. वो उसमें 10 मिनट निकाल के वो आपका काम कर देगा. The other person who has all the time would find an excuse. This is human nature. That yes, there one person would find an excuse, other would find some time to get that thing done. My view is how we as Indians would have a responsibility for our parents, and not only parents, up to grandparents का होगा. Average age getting into the 90s, that means it's our moral duty also how we make sure that their quality of life is not compromised. India has 1.2 billion people, but if you talk to any Indian CEO, कल रात को भी बात हो रही थी हमारे किसी के साथ, सबकी एक ही प्रॉब्लम है, दीपक कोई अच्छा लड़का बताओ कंपनी के लिए, कोई अच्छा CEO बताओ ना. शादी की बात तो ही है, but everywhere, whether by talent, I don't mean talent only on the job side. We all are looking for good people, and this is a worldwide problem. It's not that, and it's nothing to do with the size. You go to any country, you meet any person, some people would ask about their children, about something else, and I feel that if there is so much demand for talent, as teachers, we are in the business of shaping talent, because that's what it is. And talent to me is not just educational values, but also some social values. और दूसरा, nothing is hidden today. When I became the Dean of Kellogg, a friend of mine gave me a very good advice. He said, Deepak, never do things in life as if it's going to be a secret. पहले सोच लो, अगर ये बात बाजार में आती है, how would you do with it? Don't think you can hide anything. And if you don't have an answer, then don't do it. Not that you have to reveal everything you're doing, but if this thing comes out in public, would you have a rational explanation to it? There is a difference between being transparent and being naked. No, there is a difference. You can be transparent, but there is something behind that transparency that if it gets in public, you ought to define. 2 points I will make, and then I would say, first about human behavior, and second about corporate behavior. If you look at human behavior, कैसे behavior बनता है? सबसे पहला जो है, that is our genes, जिसको हम genetic makeup कहते हैं, and I describe that as our family values, and I used this word before, what I call संस्कार. हर घर में बच्चा जन्म लेता है, and it's not just the immediate family, परदादा दादा वगैरह से, something comes in the child. तभी कहते थे ना कि घराना देखो, घर नहीं घराना देखो, जब शादी वगैरह करते हैं. Why that is there? Because they are looking for the family history. The second part is self, जो कि हमारा autoimmune system है. Some people have a strong genetic makeup, some weak. Self is self-control. और जब वल्लभ भाई ने शुरू में कहा जय जिनेंद्र वर्ड जो है, the biggest virtue of Jain religion is person who has control over his 5 senses. That's what the जय जिनेंद्र का मतलब यही है कि जिन का मतलब you control the 5 senses, self-control, और उसके लिए एक फिट बॉडी जिसको मैं कहता हूँ शरीर. देखिए अगर शरीर स्वस्थ नहीं होगा तो फिर बाद में आप सारा दिन उसी के बारे में सोचते रहेंगे. तो वो हो गया पहला तो संस्कार जो अंदर हैं, बॉडी. एंड तीसरा इज एनवायरनमेंट, जो फ्रेंड सर्कल जिसको मैं कहता हूँ संगत. आप में अगर कंट्रोल है, सो यू कैन बी इन द मिडस्ट ऑफ एनी काइंड ऑफ फ्रेंड्स एंड स्टिल डू व्हाट यू वांट टू डू. Yesterday, my journey from Bangkok to Bombay was a very great experience of human life. A person sitting next to me, I won't reveal his name, we left at 8:30, which is 7 o'clock in mind. और plane शुरू हुआ, until it landed, he kept drinking. At one point, he was so drunk, he was sitting next to me, और मैं, that he started using 4-letter words and others. And I called the flight attendant. I said, ये आप लोगों की गलती है. This man, you can stop him giving. And the man kept drinking. और फिर बाद में सारे जो फर्स्ट क्लास के लोग थे सब आके उसको कहते रहे, कहे चुप करो. And I started talking to him. फिर वो रोने लगा. बोला नहीं, I never like to hurt anyone. मैं भी जैन धर्म का हूँ और मैं भी जैन धर्म जानता हूँ. He is a Gujarati guy and others. वो रोने लगा. मैंने बोला रो के तो और दूसरे लोग बुरा मानेंगे, क्योंकि वो रो के भी कौन सा, slowly crying. He just crying, kept crying. बोला आपने मुझे बहुत अच्छे लेसन दिए, ये वो. मैंने बोला जस्ट चुप रहो. तो मेरी वाइफ को मैंने जो आके कहा कि ऐसा था, बोला यू शुड हैव पुट योर हेडफोन्स. मैंने बोला हेडफोन्स रखने से तो आई कैन स्टॉप हियरिंग हिम, बट द अदर्स वेर देयर. ये फ्रेंड सर्कल जो है, दैट इज ऑल्सो समथिंग वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. बच्चा बिगड़ता है नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ जस्ट देयर, इन वॉट सर्कल दे रिमेन. एज ए पेरेंट, एज ए लीडर, इफ वी हैव टू क्रिएट रेपुटेशन एज द करेंसी, और अपने घर की इज्जत जो है, we have to manage these 3 circles. And then the question is, which gets more weight, which gets less weight? That depends on the environment you are in, the kind of child you are. We don't spend time understanding our own children. मेरे में भी गलती है, we become so busy that we don't listen to our own children. And they at some point reach a stage where the journey becomes irreversible. वो ऐसे चले जाते. फिर इस लड़के ने भी मुझे अपनी कहानी बताई कि मैं 35 साल तक तो ऐसा था कि कभी किसी चीज़ को हाथ नहीं लगाया, और 35 से 50 ऐसा हो गया कि बिना हाथ लगाए कुछ काम ही नहीं होता. नहीं, they just see the difference. So something must have changed, and you cannot just blame that person. It also comes into, this is to me how human behavior is. And that's why this morning when I was asked to speak, we have the Jain principles in us, or I would just say the basic values. बच्चा है, as teachers or as leaders, we need to make sure that we guide them accordingly.